This is the Cult Faction Podcast, episode 32, Things That Make You Go, ooh. Hey, this is the Cult Faction Podcast, episode 32, Things That Make You Go, ooh. I'm your host, Damien, and as ever, I am joined by...
Brett Summers.
Paul Hawkins.
And we've only gone and done it. We've reached the climax of our Halloween specials. And so far, we're still talking to each other.
Just about.
I think that may well be something to do with the fact that we weren't in the studio last week.
Yeah, it was a nice icebreaker.
Yeah. And, well, it might change
Palate
by the end of this. Palate cleanser, indeed. I think next time, when we commit to doing a month of specials for a particular reason, we plan it better. We actually have an idea of what we're going to do before we commit to it.
Maybe not do a month long of specials.
That was fun.
Well, you know, we can do it. We just need to.
No, we're really going to struggle for content next year.
We're like the A-Team. The A-Team, you know, whilst Hannibal had a plan, they always made something that they found somewhere else and turned it into an awesome weapon, just like we did in podcast form.
Although next year maybe we could do like a best of last year's Halloween
Yeah,
specials.
just a filler halfway through the month.
With some random kid sat in the corner.
Flashback episode.
Cool. Anyway, so tonight's episode, Things That Make You Go, ooh.
Are we going to have to do that every time we say it now?
I don't know. I quite like it.
There's probably only one more anyway at the end.
This is true. So yeah, Things That Make You Go,
ooh. Or maybe not.
What does Things That Make You Go, ooh, mean?
Brett didn't join in that time.
He didn't, did he? But we'll let him off.
I've got a bad throat. Now I'm triggered every time someone says that. I'm waiting to join in. I can't. But what does it mean? What does it mean? It means basically we're going to recollect back through the dark recesses of our mind for those horror moments of film and TV that we've locked away because they were so terrifying, so scary, so bad. They literally made us shit the bed. That's what it means.
Cool. But before we do that...
Hashtag shit the bed.
Anyway, so before we get to our featurette, as we've started calling them, we've got the usual part of our show, which is news and drop zone and
waffle.
General banter.
Oh, sorry, general banter,
yeah.
not waffle.
No.
A banter, as they say in France.
And a banter.
Yeah, I know.
Banterette.
Cool. Right.
Banterino.
Anyway, on with the show before this turns into 10 minutes of waffle. I am
Yeah, let's make it an hour's long of waffle.
An hour's long of waffle, 2 hours worth of Things That Make You Go, ooh. With Marley and Marley. I am going to go to Brett.
Yay!
What's been going down in Groovetown?
Mainly, I have been catching up on the latest series of The Flash. And I am pleased to say that after about a season and a half, it's got good again. Different people have come and gone now, you know, but it's getting its sort of teeth back again. And I am one episode off of the finale of the season. And
so what's it? Because I've lost track.
It's on an upward swing.
What number are we on? 8 or is it 9?
I believe this is 8. 9 has been announced. and I am one episode to go, as I say. I don't want to spoil it for everyone, but do stick with it. It's crawling its way back up to what it used to be like, with like long-term storytelling and good villains, and maybe a few twists and turns, and maybe a few surprises. And hopefully I'm not let down by the final episode, because if I am, then I'm wrong and it's still shit. But hopefully this will be the turning point that the next series will be able to... No, this is season 7. Sorry, my mistake. Season 8, it has been announced though, and I think starts pretty soon after, because I think they've had it all recorded, because they've been doing it during COVID and not been doing anything else. Because I know, like, Legends of Tomorrow finished, and about 3 weeks later the next season started. So it's sort of, I don't think we'll have to wait long. But yeah, I'm on season 7, episode 18, Heart of the Matter, part 2. And let's just say some family from the future might be back in the present, if you know what that means. If you don't,
I don't.
You
but
need
I
to keep watching.
know.
But I would recommend. It's almost not quite as good as it was around sort of series 3, 4, 5, but it's getting there. But The Flash, for what's been good and bad, it's on an upward trajectory back to good again, and I am enjoying it. And I'm also, as well as The Flash, I am now into season 5 of The Sopranos in my campaign to rewatch them all before I watch the Many Saints of Newark. So with half term being this week, hopefully I might actually get to the end of it and actually watch the film before they make a sequel. There's a lot of episodes of Sopranos. I don't remember it being that long sometimes. You know, back in the days where some seasons were like 20 episodes and things like that. You know, it's... But yeah, that's been really good. Robot Chicken, I've caught up on some of that, and the new one. That's still very funny. I mean, it is what it is, but it's 20 minutes. You can chuck it on whilst you're like eating something or whatever, and short sketches. You don't have to worry, you know, you're not following anything. Harmless fun that rips the pee out of most popular cultural things. Give it a watch. Still good. And I'm just thinking, what else? Now that may be it this week, as far as I remember.
Cool. Well, no, he's got something. He's got something.
And just as an aside, on Only Connect this week, I actually got more points than one of the teams.
Well done. That I'm impressed with that.
But yeah, that's
so that's
done
short.
Really.
So
it's been. I put a shift in on The Flash, put a shift in on The Sopranos, and again, I've got to catch up on Legends and Batwoman yet, which apparently are both really good seasons, but I'm only in the first sort of 4 or 5 episodes. So hopefully during half term, that'll come full circle as well.
Cool. So you can tell us what you've forgotten that you've watched in about 10 minutes time. Sweet. If you like. But in the meantime, Paul, over to you.
So I'm going to start with Night Teeth on Netflix.
Oh, Night Teeth sounds interesting.
Well, okay, so it stars...
It's vampires, isn't it?
Well, yeah, you might have guessed it.
Yeah.
I think I met her once.
So it stars, and I'm not sure whether it's George or Jorge, but it's George Lundenborg off of Bumblebee, and Debbie Ryan and Lucy Fry, who play vampires. So college student moonlighting as a chauffeur picks up 2 mysterious women for a night of party hopping across LA, but then he uncovers some bloodthirsty intentions, and maybe that takes him on some dangerous shenanigans, and maybe there's some romance between him and one of the vampires. Who knows? So where to start? It's kind of done okay. It's nothing to really write home about or rave about. It's a vampire flick with, again, another turn on it, or a take on it rather, where he's chauffeuring them around from one club to another, taking on some bad guys.
Not like that film where Tom Cruise was in a taxi for ages.
Yeah, not as good as that though, and it's got vampires in it. Apart from that, pretty similar. But if there's nothing else on telly, then maybe give it a watch. Don't bother, Damien, if you don't like vampires. It hasn't really broken the genre of vampire flicks.
He prefers werewolves.
But
No comment.
It's okay in the grand scheme of things. Probably 5.5 out of 10. So it's not atrociously bad, but yeah, as I said, it's nothing really to rave about. The next thing I want to talk about is Invasion on Apple TV. So we had a look at the trailer a few podcasts ago, and yeah, I don't really need to talk about the plot line. It's about an invasion on Earth, with some obviously aliens coming down trying to take over. I want to say it's really good, and at the same time want to say it's a bit boring. The rationale for that is there's just so much detail and plot building. It's just unrealistic to keep someone,
So is it a film or a series?
No, it's a series. It's a series. But as I said, there's so much detail and building up of characters for the first couple of episodes. You don't really see anything about invaders. There's little hints about something happening. But it's just building up the characters. So there's a woman that finds out that her husband's having an affair. They have to escape in the Tesla, even though he's trying to abandon them to run off. And she basically gives them a kick up the arse and says, "Look, we're your family. Look after the kids. Get in the car." Off they go. There's one with a school kid that's being beaten up, and they go on a trip and have a crash in the coach, and gut feel is that this kid that's getting beaten up is going to have a big old plot line to come and obviously get involved somewhere to do with the aliens. There's other bits with soldiers out in the Middle East and all this kind of stuff. And it's in a lot of ways it's really good. I mean, the direction's good, the production's good, the acting's great. Well, for most of the acting's good. Some of the kids are a bit ropey. It's a bit like Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, where they just got them into the realms of production of a TV series for the first time. But a lot of it is good. And as I said, the attention to detail is really, really impressive. But there's just not much action. And you really want something, particularly if it's a series, there's got to be some kind of build up, or at least in an Independence Day, there's action from the start, and there's aliens from the start, and they build up what the aliens are doing. And I think I'm only like 2 or 2 and a bit episodes in, but even so, they're long drawn out episodes. So you'd expect a bit of action, and Sam Neill makes an appearance, but it's literally, he's on screen. He doesn't really, do any fine acting or whatever. It's literally, the production team have found out he's got not much on. So let's get Sam Neill because he was off, Jurassic Park, that type of stuff. Not really playing up to his strengths as an actor. It's no Peter Rabbit or anything like that.
He's more interested in his vineyard now, I reckon.
Well, yeah.
Sam Neill's in most things now, somewhere or other, isn't he? He's sort of one of those sort of. He does pop up in a lot of stuff now, like even on like
Peter Rabbit,
like drama-y stuff and things. I haven't seen Peter Rabbit, but
I'm going to carry on watching it because
well, it sounds like it might be one of those that pays off. You get that payoff in the end. If they're going that heavy in storyline, then
but
I don't mind that sometimes, but it's I know what you mean.
I would have preferred it a bit more if they'd have had some aliens in from the get go, or some building up of more of the tension. But there's certainly better than whatever it was, War of the Worlds, where they did a series not so long ago, and the aliens were just quite shocking in that.
Is that the Fox one?
That was the Fox BBC One or something, didn't they?
No, there was a BBC One, which BBC One
that was set in the
the original time period, but then there was I think it was Fox.
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
Did a modern day Tom Cruise style.
That wasn't very good. So it's better than that.
It's not really saying a lot, is it?
No, but as I said, it is really good at what it's doing at the moment. It's just a bit lacking on the old Alien front, if I'm honest. But I will carry on watching and we'll report back. I'm not going to talk about a lot of the random TV stuff that I've been watching in any detail, other than to say Brassic's returned on Sky, and if you've seen the first 2 series of Brassic, then this is a carrying on the normal hilarities of the underclass, as it were, and some of the vulgar comedy that they get up to. But yeah, give that a watch if you're a Brassic fan. You won't be disappointed. But the big one for me, I went to the cinema in the first time since the original lockdown, and I thought, well, you know, as I keep mentioning, I'm only going to go to the cinema if there's a visual need to go, or to experience high quality production. And I thought, what better way than to watch Dune at the cinema? So I'm not going to go too much into all the cast because it's a score of thousands. It was interesting to literally come from watching C on Apple TV like a couple of weeks ago with Jason Momoa and Dave Bautista, to see them starring in Dune as well. And Jason Momoa without a beard looks completely different. So yeah, it was interesting to see those two square up in Dune. But yeah, it's cast of thousands.
Is it worth the watch?
Well, I was never a fan of the books. I didn't read them because they're overly hyped. I got into most of the other sci-fi and fantasy genre, but Dune will always escape me by. I think I probably watched the Dune film from the 80s.
Oh, David Lynch one.
Yeah. But if I'm honest, I was probably it must have been a late night because I don't remember it. So I came into this with a blank slate. Obviously, I know a bit about the storyline, all that kind of good stuff. But I thought, I have to give it a watch, because if anything's going to be good at the cinema, this is made for it. And if I'm honest, opening credits, Dune Part 1. So, what do you mean Part 1? I didn't know it was.
I don't think they did. I mean, they've just announced Part 2 today, as we went on air.
Well, no, yeah, it was earlier on today. And yeah, they obviously want to see how this would do before even getting involved in the production, which now you're kind of thinking, well, that's not going to be out for another 3 years, as opposed as if they gave it the justice it deserved and the faith in the production that they deserved, they'd have kicked off the Part 2 straight away, you know. Similar to Lord of the Rings, you know, they invested in it, carried on filming literally from the
it was like back to back, wasn't it?
Yeah. But it is really good. It is obviously great to watch at the cinema. The scenery is fantastic. The special effects are fantastic. It's really hard to describe because a lot of it is lacking action. And a lot of it is, again, just the character development, the building up of the...
Who is this appealing to? Is this, if I'm a 12-year-old boy who likes science fiction, am I going to like Dune?
Yes. Yeah,
cool.
So it blows the new Star Wars trilogy out of the water. It doesn't have the action of Star Wars. You know, it doesn't have millions and millions of gunfights or
spaceship
battles.
Yeah.
It does have a few, but again, it's really interesting watch.
Cause I'm sort of in that. I mean, I do want to watch it, and I will go and see it. But is it made? You know, I'm just wondering, will it hold a young person's attention?
Yeah, but that's a really weird thing about it, and the clever thing about it is, whilst it's not all guns blazing, as it were. And a lot of it is, again, building up the whole storyline. And let's face, when it comes to Dune, there's a big old, you know, backstory, you know, because it's talking about sagas of, you know, empires and all this kind of stuff. It doesn't, you know, go into all of that. It alludes to a lot of it. There's almost like a Hitchhiker's Guide bit where the main character, Atreides or whatever his name is basically has a almost like a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy low down on the planet that he's going to. So that kind of fills in the blanks about the history without needing to read 400 pages of a novel. But no, it's really good. The score's really good as well. It's a kind of a Middle Eastern Celtic background music that builds up tension. The acting's first class, and it's a nice take on a sci-fi film that as I said isn't just guns blazing or lightsabers or robots. You know, one of the things about Dune is AI was basically trying to take over, so they got rid of all robots and computers. So this is another take on it where they almost have human robots, but for want of a better word, they're like fonts of all knowledge and things like that. But no, it's really good. And you know, even the other half, who's not a big sci-fi fan anyway, but she really enjoyed it.
Oh, cool.
And yes, it's definitely worth.
That was always one of the questions for me, would be its appeal and whether or not they got the balance right. Because, like you say, the book is. I'm still on about my 10th attempt to get through the book because it is heavy.
Yeah, no, it's
not just in weight.
Exactly. So this cuts through a lot of the chaff, as it were, and without glossing over it too much. No, as I said, they do invest a lot of time into it. But no, it's definitely worth a watch. And you know, I did bribe her with the comfy seats at the cinema and all that kind of good stuff as well.
Well, you need it. That's a good couple of hours.
Yeah. But no, definitely recommend giving it a watch. I was a bit gutted with the fact that they hadn't already, you know, signed up to the part 2. And yeah, it was just released today that they're going to start production. But yeah.
They must. Well, I'd like to think they must have the actors on some sort of retaining contract.
Yeah, I imagine they do, but it's getting everything ready, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
You know, which takes its time, as opposed to if they'd have done it in one.
Just filmed all of it and then done.
Yeah. But no, give that a watch, and if you are going to invest money to go to the cinema, it's definitely worth it.
And the spotlight spins back round to our host, Damien.
Cool.
What's been happening?
So I'm towards the tail end of season 2 now of Another Life, which is that sci-fi epic nonsense that I started watching last week.
Sell it to us.
It's not too bad, to be fair. It's just...
What was that one again, just in like a sentence?
It's your fella from Battlestar Galactica. Can't remember her name.
Oh yeah, Katie Sackhoff on the spaceship. Yeah,
That's the one. She's on a spaceship. Her husband's down on Earth. There's an artifact from another planet or an alien species that has landed. There's a lot of shenanigans. A young cast of hopefuls have various issues to deal with. Season 1 ended as you would expect the first season of any sci-fi thing to end, which is a nice little cliffhanger, and going into season 2. Season 2's picked up. It's not really spoilery because it's obvious. Most of the cast have pretty much been replaced. And
is this the science fiction version of Family Affairs?
Well,
like,
you know
every 6 months everyone dies.
It's not far from, you know, it has some really good set pieces with, you know, sci-fi action, but there is also a shed load of dream sequences or flashback sequences about Katie Sackhoff's character's emotions or someone else's past that aren't really that necessary. We don't need to know what happened to a particular character 20 odd years ago. It doesn't add that much to the plot. There's a little bit too much
they're going to end up
emotion
on an
in
island.
it. Yeah. So yeah, I've got about 2 episodes of that to go. I'm assuming by the way the storyline's going, it's not going to wrap up in this season, so they're at least expecting a second season. I don't know. I haven't looked to see if it's been renewed or not.
I think there are at least 2 seasons. Off the top of my head.
Well, this is it. I'm 2 episodes away from the end of season 2, and they can't wrap it all up in 2 episodes. So unless they do a dark matter and just pull the rug from under my feet,
bastards,
there'll be another season to watch. So there's that, and I'm going to trump your sci-fi opus Dune with 1978's sci-fi epic Star Crash.
I totally know that one.
Now this is a classic. It's currently free on Amazon. If you've got Amazon, obviously you pay, but you know what I mean. It's free. An outlaw smuggler and an alien companion have been recruited by the Emperor of the Galaxy to rescue his son and destroy a secret weapon. Do you know who the son is, Brett?
I know he appears halfway through the film, and I wasn't expecting him to turn up. And like, but it was a pre-Hoff. It was just full on.
It is. It's the Hoff. He plays the son. You've got Christopher Plummer, who is the Emperor of the Galaxy.
Yeah, type thing.
And Carolyn Monroe, who's the to put it in 1978's turn, the totty in a bikini, pretty much.
Do you like how the way they halfway through it just switches? Because apparently they had, I remember reading about, they suddenly had, like, it might be in one of her books or something, where they were like, maybe she's showing too much. So suddenly, like, she has like a thing over the top.
Yeah.
It was just
Suddenly
like,
she's wearing a coat.
No explanation. She's just suddenly got a coat on, was it? Yeah.
Yeah. But it's one of those that is so bad it's good. You can clearly see what they were doing. They're trying to ride the coattails of all the sci-fi stuff that was going on.
The special effects scenes are really good.
So are the fights. The fights are brilliant. They're taken straight out of the fights from Star Trek. I reckon they had the same choreographer. Yeah. So.
Oh, that's a classic. I haven't seen it for ages.
It's there. It's on Amazon Prime. It's free to watch, for want of a better term. And that's it. I've been watching a load of movies that made us.
That's one of my future media lessons just been planned. The study of science fiction.
Classic.
And stock footage, sorry.
It's other than the movies that made us, that has started another season 2 on Netflix, which obviously not going to talk about because it's what we do. So I'm not going to sit here and then go through how good that show is. And that's it. I haven't really watched a lot this week, so I'm being mercifully short.
There is as well. So I'm pretty sure it had nothing to do with it, but there was a Star Crash 2, and really? I think that is even more made up of stuff from other things with like a main. I think they just nicked the name of it and just made like a different, it made a few quid. Let's knock another one out quickly. see if you can find that. I can't remember who was in that now. But that's just.
I'll have a look, see if it's on Amazon.
Jogged a memory.
I wouldn't want it to tarnish my memory of Star Crash.
Oh,
because if it's not as good as that.
Oh no, it won't. Well, it's Star Crash 2, aka Escape from Galaxy 3.
Okay. Yep. I don't think Galaxy 3 was mentioned in the original Star Crash.
I don't think it would have been. But yeah, and there's no Hoff or anyone that isn't Italian by the looks of it. But yeah, no, that's some good watching. That's some good watching.
News desk.
The news.
News items. Here it is. The news. The bit we've all been waiting for.
This is the news.
This is the news. So first up in the news, we've got Hayden Christensen is returning to the Star Wars universe with a shocker. It's a TV series.
Ahsoka.
Whatever. Star Wars nonsense. I don't give a
it's just
shit.
The way you said it, it's like a shocker. As in, it's going to be a shocker.
We thought you were being clever.
No, I wasn't. I couldn't give a flying fuck what he's doing with his life now. Or Star Wars for that matter.
Well, he's been doing lots of award-winning acting outside of Star Wars.
Has he?
Yeah. Apparently he's like a high. It just would appear that in front of a camera filmed by George Lucas, he's as wooden as anything. But on like Broadway theatre and like other films, he's like award-winning and
he needs the audience regarded. And all the the applause.
And in other films as well. Apparently, he's just like this highly regarded actor. But you put him in a Jedi cloak, and he just turns into like a wooden puppet.
But how much of that was him? Or
that's what I said in front of George Lucas.
No, but that made it imply like George is in the room and he can't act, or as opposed to him doing exactly what he's told to do, which is being really wooden.
Yeah, it's kind of what I said.
It was just the way he said it.
I was blaming George Lucas, which I do for most.
So what do we feel about this then?
Well, the Ahsoka TV show is a highly anticipated show with
Most of that's for
Rosario Dawson as
though.
well, spinning off from the Mandalorian TV series, and having him back. It's the same. I have the same worries I do with the Obi-Wan TV show. You know, a lot of this has already been told. So are they going to go back and just rehash it in live action, or are they just going to shit over everything they've done and just tell something different? That would be the worry I have.
I don't know, but I don't imagine that they will do too much different to the stuff that's been around before, because they will be slated.
Well, the only other thing they could do is if it's her now and he's a Force ghost helping her. Like,
No.
Oh, Sako,
No.
you know, from a point of view.
No, that's like Randall and Hopkirk deceased, but for the Star Wars world.
Well, they did it with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda, and Luke was a ghost, and
They popped up every now and again.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I don't think he's, you know, he could turn up for one day of filming, do 5 or 6 speeches for 10 episodes, and saunter off back to where people liked him.
No, but he can't, because he was older when he died.
Oh, let's not that way. Sebastian Shaw played him in Return of the Jedi as a ghost and then got replaced by him young. And to be fair, I don't know what he's doing. For all his faults, Hayden Christensen now looks exactly the same as he did. Like, whenever he was... I don't want to know how many years ago it was now.
That's Hollywood for you, my friend. It goes one of 2 ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apart from, actually, he's got that little side balding bits coming in here, if you can see. And but apart from that, you know, if he grows that out, no one's going to notice.
You either go down the route of Brendan Fraser, or
hey, leave Robot Man out of this. He's redeemed himself now on Doom Patrol. That's the best role he's ever had in his life. He's amazing in that.
I'm still a fan of the Mummy, to be fair.
But yeah, highly anticipated. We're worried what's going to happen with it.
I'm not worried. Well, you said we. I'm not worried. They'll have to keep it. You know.
Yeah, but you're saying they have to, but I'm worried they might not. That's what I'm saying. But we're agreeing.
I'm just wondering, worried in case it's any good. But you know,
Ahsoka, Ahsoka should be really good. She's like the best character they ever created for Star Wars.
So they've invested in it after The Mandalorian, which.
Yeah. And you've got the Book of Boba Fett coming up as well, so I'm imagining there's going to be a tie in there in one episode at least.
Yeah, I think that's my only other concern, is there's so many of these series coming out, and film franchises and film spin-offs.
Yeah, but they've got...
anyone would think Disney are out just for money or something.
The House of Mouse being for money. Who'd have thought that? But, no, with... Jon Favreau on board, I think he's a fan himself, and he'll just keep everything sort of in line and maybe quite tight, because he's got a finger. Well, he runs Disney now, doesn't he? So between that, Star Wars and the Marvel universe,
he's really not rated, underwhelming. You look at him on screen and you think, oh, he's just a bit person. But then you dig a little bit deeper, and and as you said, he basically is.
Yeah, he runs Disney.
Yeah.
And it's quite funny because, as I said earlier, you know, listeners will know I've been rewatching The Sopranos, and they had an episode a few seasons ago where Christopher Moltisanti meets him playing himself as a film director and advises him on this film, and basically he's only sort of being nice to him because he wants to nick stories for like a mob movie and all that, and kind of rips Christopher off, and then Christopher's worried that these stories are going to come out in the film and he'll get whacked because he's told him and all that, and he was trying to write a screenplay and that, and yeah, he plays himself in that, but he's a few pounds lighter or blonder hair at that point.
Slightly biographical.
Yeah, and it's just sort of like just to see him even at that point, you know, he's willing to send himself up a bit, playing himself, and now to see where he is now from sort of doing that to basically, you could say, controlling modern cinema in some ways, you know.
I'm surprised he hasn't got his own Avengers spin-off as well, his own backstory. Happy
was getting a bit of Aunt May, I think, at the end, so that's not too bad going.
But Happy as a character as well was actually quite, well, not in the films, but before, you know, the Avengers was kind of a
It's just a bodyguard,
action bodyguard. He
So-
turned into a lovable bodyguard at the Avengers films, but yeah, that would have been interesting. I'm surprised he hasn't done that. Happy the early years, happy days.
Happy's days, just to not get done too much. Although I'd be interested to see that now if he's with Aunt May. But that's a whole different genre.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're excited.
Glad to hear it.
Welcome back, Damien.
Yeah.
What's next in the news?
Most of what you said there made no sense to me, and I don't want it to. Next up in the news, David Tennant's Around the World in 80 Days sets release date on PBS.
Yeah, this is one that kind of I missed initially, but everyone's probably favourite Doctor Who is playing Phineas Fogg alongside Abrima Coma and Leonie Benes in a sort of new Around the World in 80 Days remake, which is kind of, a bit Jules Verne fantasy type thing, so it kind of comes under our remit, but it...
You're trying to justify it being in the news.
Yeah, a little bit, because people go, why's that in there? And it's like, at one point, this was fantasy. We've gone past that now, where you can, just get a plane and go around the world in about 5 hours now, while stopping off at a space station. But, it's an 8-episode series. It comes out on January the 2nd, and it's got big expectations as well. People are expecting this to sort of blow the lid off things and be a bit something that we haven't seen before. Personally, I'm really interested in seeing how they develop the Phineas Fogg Passepartout relationship, because a lot's changed since the book was written. And and there's other people popping out. Anthony Flanagan pops up, Lindsay Duncan, Gary Beadle even pops up from many years ago from EastEnders. And
Who?
Gary Beadle.
I don't mind the idea of this. I mean, David Tennant, good actor, not the best Doctor Who. I think that was a sweeping statement you made. I think Christopher Eccleston was probably one of my favourites.
Fair enough.
But he's a good actor.
And yours was McCoy, wasn't
Mine was McCoy.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, but it'd be interesting to see what they can do a little bit different. And as you said,
I mean, because Steve Coogan did a film probably 10 years ago with Jackie
15
Chan
years
or
ago,
longer. And, is this still a relevant story? Maybe that's my point. It's, in a time now where...
Well, people like watching Englishmen go around the globe, aka Grand Tours and all.
Yeah, but nowadays it's Ewan McGregor on a motorbike or something like that, not like a skinny bloke in a balloon.
The only thing I'm not sure about, and this is just my lack of knowledge of PBS, is what kind of production quality they do. But from looking at the stills, it looks alright.
Yeah, so I mean, they're not the top one, but they got a few cool.
Coming back to one of my statements that I sometimes make, to me this is Sunday early evening viewing.
Yeah, no, it is that sort of thing. But that's what I'm saying. Do you think, well, you got Sprogs. Would they be interested in this
not at
anymore?
all.
Exactly.
Not at all.
That's what I mean. Who is this? Is it
this
nostalgic people like us who remember all the other versions we've had to sit through the years, or is it, is this tale? Is Around the World in 80 Days? Has it's had its day? Is it something now? We should put it away. We've got those old versions. Let's move on to something else. Or do we need to sort of every 15 years remake it into another?
It's just a dramatisation, isn't it? It's like All Creatures Great and Small's come back on. They've redone that.
And the Larkins.
The Larkins, yeah.
Exactly.
There is a place for this kind of stuff. I'm not saying it's my house that it's got its place in. Same with the Larkins and things like, I mean, it is exactly what you just said, Paul. It is Sunday evening.
Emma roast dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just it's
Hopefully in
I
winter
can't- I'm
time
trying
with the fire on.
I'm trying to find the words for it that aren't necessarily slagging it off, because I don't mean to, but it is just
Easy
bland
watching drama.
TV for the masses.
Yeah.
It will probably get. I mean, it's
I-
PBS. I don't know how it's what it's gonna be on if it comes over here. More than likely,
BBC or something. Yeah.
yeah.
Because
But
PBS is
I'd
public
rather watch
broadcast.
that than a reality show or a
Gotcha.
Strictly
Yeah,
Come
exactly.
Dancing,
Yeah. There's no probably about it. I
yeah,
can't
but Brett
handle
is old
reality
Love Island
TV.
thing, you know. He needs that fix. Okay, cool. So, yeah. Do we
yeah,
have a release
but
date, do you say?
But I just wonder, but my thing was like for what was fantasy isn't really fantasy anymore. Like, a man in a balloon, 80 days. Oh,
Yeah, but it's never
It's a
really been in
challenge.
that category of.
but it's more, I
It's-
guess, with the people that
it's
wrote
just a
and who
classic
filmed it,
novel.
and it's not, and what it's gone
But it's
through.
for that time, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's exactly my point. Is it relevant anymore? But
But you can say that about any drama set not in today's
Yeah.
period.
You go through Bridgerton or
Downton Abbey.
Downton Abbey or any of Jane Austen.
Yeah, but the
What do you call it?
storylines
That's-
relate to it. I mean, the whole concept of that is he's got to go around the world in 80 days and he ends up doing it in a balloon. Whereas nowadays...
Just not all-
Yeah, but it's not set in nowadays, is it, Brett? It's set in 18.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Whatever.
I'm saying for a young person...
Yeah, but there'll be
nowadays,
drama, there'll be Jeopardy, there'll be all of that
Oh,
sort
yeah.
of stuff.
The
And
sabotage of the trip.
Yeah.
And all, yeah, no, I'm aware of that. I'm just thinking as a... would all the young dudes be telling them?
they're not aiming for the young dudes. That's the point. It's like the Larkins. It's like All Creatures Great and
Yeah, I
Small.
guess so.
There's a target audience that pretty much gets forgotten
if you
most
said
of the
that
time.
Producers at PBS, they'd be a bit knocked. Cool. Let's
Cool.
wait and see.
Yeah. In sadder news, James Michael Tyler, who, as we all know, played Gunther in Friends, has died at the age of 59. I think it was after a colon cancer.
Yeah, he'd had a 4 or 5 year battle or something like that. Yeah, but I always liked it. He was like the character that became a cult character. He shouldn't have been a star. He was someone supposed to be in the background, but he just brought that character out and kind of made a living off it in his own right, rather than just sort of
Yeah, fair
be a
play to him.
background dude. The big Ron of Friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to be remembered. Okay, and we've also got some more sad news. Joanna Cameron has passed away at the age of 70.
Yeah, the star of the Secrets of ISIS, later ISIS, passed away following a stroke. I mean, she appeared in a few other things like Spider-Man, and as ISIS, she crossed over into Shazam as well. But, in the late 70s, she had a big moment on that series, and it's probably still being repeated on some cable channel today somewhere.
And now we're going to bring things back up with Star Trek Prodigy.
Comes out in 2 days. The Star Trek world is excited. Everyone's excited. This is this new cutting-edge cartoon. It's new Star Trek. That in the line of all the characters that we know and love, blah blah blah,
Blah, blah,
and
blah, 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 blah.
people are excited. So it comes out October the 28th, so it should be out as this drops around about then.
Cool. I can't
And
contain my excitement.
and it's I know I've forgotten the real name, but Admiral Janeway's doing her own voice in it, and there will be characters popping up that we
Kate
know
Mulgrew.
from Star Trek. Kate Mulgrew, that was it. Mrs. Columbo herself will be doing the voices and playing herself. Different other people and characters are going to pop up as it goes along, apparently. And we've got this whole new crew and new people on the USS Protostar.
Yeah.
Go Paul.
Well, I just a bit disappointed watching that because it looks like they've done it almost for a younger audience as opposed to if they'd have done it like Star Wars Bad Batch or something like that. It looks really good, don't get me wrong. But yeah, this feels like it's the age level one below where I think it should be. But that's only from a 30-second clip, so you don't know how.
I've got the gist. If you want me to drop the gist on you.
No, it's good. I read it.
Oh, okay.
But as
For
I
our
said,
audience and listeners.
you know, I just.
Well, apparently, if you want the gist, you have to go and read it yourselves.
That's fair enough. Paul said
Well, just
he
from
doesn't
that
care about you. We do.
30-second clip, as it looks like they've aimed it at the 7 to 9 year olds as opposed to the 10 to 15 year olds.
But is that almost going back to what we were talking about just now? Is that a way of maybe hooking the younger people into what is this Star Trek, and then like pulling them in to watch every other franchise series?
But not if you're going to do that from a car. So Star Wars have done it superbly with the clones and all that kind of good.
Clone Wars, etc.
Yeah.
Rogue Squadron and Rebels and
And Bad Batch, this feels like a bit too young, and there may be a market for it, but
maybe that's because Star Trek has never really been for the kids, has it? Would you say through its
only us when we used to watch it as kids.
Yeah, but even then, sort of late in. But I don't remember even really liking it till I was a bit older because it didn't, it was half of it was just people sat there.
Well,
I've never liked it.
Well, let's face it. The TV series over the last few years for Star Trek have been aimed at a certain audience, and some of them have been hit and miss. Some of them have been good. Most recently the likes of Picard, again, really good productions.
I like Discovery. A lot of people didn't like that, but
yeah,
that was a bit more like Star Trek with like a 15 rating,
but
a bit
again,
more violent.
So you've got like Star Trek Below Decks, which is a different take, and this seems
that's a more adult cartoon.
Yeah,
again,
exactly.
isn't it? Yeah.
So it's just another cash cow, I think, just from that universe. But
franchise.
I'm just a bit gutted because I was hoping it would be a bit older in tone, but it could be.
No, that's fair enough.
Doesn't look like it. Let's face it.
I think that's a fair reflection.
But hey, let's see. I might give the first episode a watch.
Cool. Glad to hear that. I'm sure.
Will you be watching it, Damien?
No, I won't. A, it's a cartoon. B, it's Star Trek, and C, I can't think of a C. I just don't care.
Fair enough.
No. Moving on. Apple TV has renewed Mythic Quest.
Yay!
For a third and fourth season.
Ooh, I haven't got to the end of season 1 yet.
I haven't watched any of it, and apparently it might. I don't think it's going to come as news to anyone that it's been renewed, but apparently the way season 2 ended means it might be a little different come season 3. I don't know what that means, but I'm sure.
Yet, but
yes. Sir Trevor McDonald is to be the new games master.
That's why what you're going to say then. Oh, not Sir Trevor.
No, he's. I wouldn't just drop that on you like that. So E4, along with YouTube, I don't quite understand that, and I really couldn't be bothered to look into it too much. But E4,
it's the kids' favourite channel.
Yeah, so I'm guessing it's going to be on E4 and YouTube in some kind of tie-up or whatever. Anyway, they're rebooting the video game series Games Master, and Trevor McDonald is going to be taking on the iconic role, which was obviously originally filled by the late, great, legendary Sir Patrick Moore.
Yeah.
No, they're not going to CGI him.
No, they're not. They're going to have Sir Trevor McDonald doing it instead. I'm assuming it's all going to be whirly and, sparkly, jumpy and all of that kind of stuff. They should do that anyway. That would be wrong.
You'd imagine it.
Yeah, if he's not like some sort of weird hologrammy type character.
Some sort of Jedi cloak type thing.
Yeah.
They got to make him not. Or maybe
it's got to look like kind of mystical, futuristic, and all that sort of stuff.
It really does.
So now, Brett,
yes,
it is time for.
Are we strapping on the
parachutes? We're going to strap in. I'm not strapping on nothing.
Drop zone. Drop zone.
Can you contain your excitement? I can see the look in your eyes. You're.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm excited. This is a good drop zone.
We'll be the judge of that when we've seen the trailers. First up in the drop zone, we have got Scooby Doo. Where are you now?
Yeah, that's right. The gang are all back together and reunited. The Scooby Doo Where Are You Now special airs Friday, October the 29th on the CW. And as well as the Scooby Gang, you've got special guests including Ian Armitage, author Jerry Beck, Caramo Brown, producer Tony Sivan, Seth Green, Olivia Lang, producer Dave Silverman, animator Tim Sito, Mitch Wilson, Weird Al, and Cherry O'Terry. And this is a 1 hour special from the Warner Brothers Animation and Warner Brothers Unscripted Television departments. And basically, this is a bit like the Friends Reunited program a little while ago. It's kind of like that, but with the Scooby Gang.
That, isn't it?
No, it's totally original.
I would say pastiche rather than rip-off, I think.
No, you're missing the point. It's from Warner Brothers Unscripted Television. They don't know what it's going to be like. It's unscripted. No one knows.
No one knows what Fred's going to say.
Or Daphne.
Anyway, shall we take a look?
I bet Scooby's not going to say much.
Let's do that. Zoinks.
Jerry?
Ooh.
I'm in.
I'm really pleased to see Scrappy's not there.
Yeah.
That's
I reckon
cheered me
he's
up.
behind it all.
Yeah, they're going to pull a mask
Oh,
off
God,
at the
look at
end,
it.
and it's going to be him that's doing all the shenanigans. But no, you're right. I think
Bit
I will watch
nostalgia.
this because I did love Scooby Doo back in the day. I didn't. I watched the first movie, the live action, whatever you want to call it, and yeah, it was all right. But it's good to see. It looks like old school Scooby.
I would have
got
liked
some-
it. Oh, go on,
Go on, no.
No,
Go
I
on.
was going to say, I'd have liked it more if maybe they'd kind of, a bit like what we're saying now with the other cartoon, maybe they might have made it just that tad older. Because like they say, it's like the 50-odd year reunion or whatever. So maybe they could have made it a little bit more for the adult bit of kind of like, maybe, I don't know, two of them.
Yeah, but you might get that in the actual-
Two of them haven't got on for years
Yeah,
because
yeah.
one tries to stage the other, or just like little things like they did. Did you ever see the behind the musics on the Banana Splits?
No, I can't
Like
say
one
that I
of
did.
them had become an alcoholic. One of them had done something out. And that was years before they'd done that horror film of them, and it was like they made it a bit more. You know, one of them had been married 8 times. They'd all failed and was living in a hotel somewhere and all stuff like that. But no, yeah, but it looks. It's a wholesome family entertainment. A lot of people popping up as, costume designer back in the day or whatever they're supposed to have been, and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it could be fun.
Okay, so that was Scooby Doo. Where are you now? Well, let's see if we can get Black Friday to float your
This
boat.
the Amazon sale, yeah.
No, it's not.
Okay.
No.
Brett will give us the spiel.
Directed by Casey Tebow from a screenplay written by Andy Greskovic.
Well
Black
done.
Friday follows a group of toy store employees who must protect each other from a horde of parasite-infected shoppers. And it stars Ivana Bacalero, Bruce Campbell, Devon Sauer, Michael J. White, Ryan Lee, Mark Steger, and Adrian M. Monpoint.
Let's take a look.
I may have a new favourite Christmas movie.
Really?
Oh God, here we go.
Here we go. He's off again. I was just thinking the same as you, Brett. I do like the look of this. You know what you're going to get. It's just a fun horror romp.
Bruce Campbell, legend. Michael J. White, legend. And the other people look really cool as well. And it almost looks like, that could have been my life once.
Back in the day,
Shop
working for Woolworths.
floors, Superdrug. No, I was Superdrug.
Oh yeah, you were. Sorry, I do apologise.
So other stores are available.
It just
They're
looks,
still going.
just looks a bit old, predictable, though, doesn't it? I mean, even the bit where it said, "Oh look, the police are here," you kind of knew they're going to go straight through the window.
So what? Not everything has to be space epic nonsense.
Oh no, I'm not saying it needs to be space epic nonsense. It's just, I think
Go on, explain yourself.
it's a comedy horror with zombies, and that looked similar. They're going to obviously cure them with toys in very funny ways. I don't know. Maybe I don't know why I'm being so cynical.
It's my job normally.
Yeah,
so
I know. Yeah. It's me. It's just me.
Well, I think
I'm
it's
gonna
set
let you
its
two
stall
watch
out.
it.
You know what you're going to go into. It's just going to be funny one-liners, joke deaths, fun. And what's wrong with that? Go on, answer me that. What's wrong with that?
I think.
So you saying you watch something just for fun and entertainment?
No, I want to be taken on a journey through the motivation for why these people work here.
the
And
gumdrop forest.
Yeah, let's face it. That 1 minute 30 is the funniest bit of the whole film, and none of us laughed out loud. It's not going to be that funny.
it might well be, but it also might well be. It's the same sense of humour as Ash versus Evil Dead, or
That was funny.
exactly. So it's just fun.
I
It could
thought,
be
Why
okay.
not?
It could be okay. I'll let you two watch it and then tell me if it's any good.
Well, we already know it's going to be good.
And
we
unless,
like it already.
unless it comes out on Netflix and like I'm up at 2 a.m. and then I'll watch it first.
All right.
Right, move on.
So all right.
Jesus.
Who's hosting this? Me or you?
You tonight.
Exactly. So
Very touchy.
now we're going to move on to Lair.
Directed by Adam Ethan Crowe, Lair stars Corey Johnson, Oded Fear, Alexandra Gilbreth, Sean Buchanan, Aslyn Dieth, Kashif O'Connor, and newcomers Anya Newell and Alana Wallace. Now, what's it about?
What's it about, Brett?
Well, when Ben Dollahide is accused of murder, saying he was possessed by a demonic force, Stephen Carramore investigates his friend's claims, setting off a chain of events that forces a young family into a terrifying battle for survival.
Yes.
Lair.
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 Lair. Not layer. It's not like lay as in a cake or something. Lair.
Or Star Wars.
No, layer.
That's what you said.
No, lay.
You said Lair.
Play the.
Lair.
Anyway, let's watch the trailer, shall we?
I didn't mind it. Look at that. That looks alright.
I'm glad I'm sitting down.
It looks
Really?
alright. Yeah. Compared to a lot of the other rubbishy horror things that we have to look at in trailers, that looked alright.
Do you know what I really liked about that?
Are you going to say nothing?
No. No,
Okay.
I'm going to say they didn't bother to faff about trying to find a particular receptacle for the salt. They literally just went to the cupboard and got bog standard
Yeah.
table salt.
To do their
You can see it's
voodoo
from Tesco's or
barricade.
Sainsbury's or something, and that's what they put down. None of this, we got to get like a particular jar or
It's
something.
got to be blessed by a
Yeah.
vicar or something. Yeah. No, I think it's good. It looks well acted. It looks well filmed. Cinematography looks like a slight spin on the old sort of Peeping Tom kind
Yeah.
of thing. You know.
I think that
Yeah,
was a
what
nice
was that? You got a
touch.
little bit of that. It wasn't. No, it's not Slither, is it?
Yeah, it
What-
was Sliver.
Slither.
Yeah.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
So,
always
so he
doubt
starts off being a bit of a perv, notices that some things are not right,
But he can't admit to it because then he's going to admit to what you see. You know.
and then he carries on filming. But he
Yeah.
obviously, wants to look after himself as well, so he gets the salt out. Yeah, no, I think it looks like it's done well. Look, some jumpy sequences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in. You're in.
Sorry,
Well,
just
we've
saw
got one-
moving. It's the pineapple.
We've got one we've all agreed on.
Cool.
Lair hits digital.
Layer,
Lair. Lair.
I've got bad throat.
werewolves.
Lair is available on digital and VOD platforms in North America from Tuesday, November the 9th, 2021. So hold on, America. Lair is coming.
So, just to be clear, it's like air with an L in front of it. Lair.
Yes, I have bad throat.
Okay.
Lair. It hurts to inflect with my vocal cords.
And he teaches our younger
I
generations.
know.
I can't say anything. Werewolves. That takes us on nicely to the final candidate in the drop zone.
It's about
Whi-
werewolves.
This has got nothing to do with werewolves. It's Last Rite.
The Last Rite will be released in the US and Canada on the 26th of November, and it is a British exorcism horror directed by Leroy Kincaid and stars Bethan Waller, Johnny Fleming, Kit Smith, and Ian McNaughton.
Cool.
And now for the gist. A
So-
vibe of
Well,
true
that wasn't the
horror.
gist.
No, that's just the facts. Now we've got
Oh,
the
right.
gist. A vibe of true horror coupled with the dank sense of uncertainty. Fact can be a stranger and more terrifying than fiction. And medical student Lucy, Bethan Waller, suffers from sleep paralysis and finds herself plagued by a demonic entity after moving in with her boyfriend. Torn between sanity and the unknown, Lucy seeks help from a local priest forced to make a deathly choice. With the clock ticking, will Lucy escape the dark force consuming her from inside? Actor turned writer-director Leroy Kincaid makes his accomplished feature debut with a stark supernatural horror, one inspired by Kincaid's own real-life paranormal experiences.
Trailer time. I think we might have peaked with the previous drop zone entry. However, it doesn't look that bad.
I was obviously, it's a different. It's down after watching the last show and seeing that. Obviously, there's a difference in budget, and that's clear. But what impressed me was the cinematography in that. They look like some really nice shots and some different ideas of like how to film things rather than the usual. It's following you down the corridor, or it's in the mirror behind you. You know, there's a lot of shadows, a lot of use of shadow, a lot of use of imagery and things like that, which, as we learn more about the story, may have meaning or something like that. But I think it's.
I
but
just
it's
think
definitely It's,
some of the. I mean, I know it's 2 minutes, but the acting didn't quite look.
It's a tough one as well, isn't it? Because you got the exorcism, you got the exorcism of Emily Rose or whatever it was. You got Exorcist Last Rite, Exorcist 2,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, Exorcist 10.
That doesn't seem altogether
Demons in Space.
too different, and I think you're right, Damien. It's going to be, if you're going to go for an exorcism film, it's going to be compared to those big budget Hollywood films.
It's not. I'd say it doesn't look bad.
I didn't see anything original, unfortunately. I didn't see a different spin on it.
Well, you've got this whole sleep paralysis thing.
Yeah,
and the demonic entity. So
yeah, and in fact, a couple of minutes into the trailer. That's the 22-minute trailer. A few seconds into the trailer, I was kind of getting are they just bunging a load of creepy pastas into one story, like you say, sleep paralysis, so the old hag that sits on your chest, normal exorcism stuff, the entity that follows you, they're all what is now called creepypastas, but would have been just basic old school bogeymen type stories. So, but to be fair, in my mind I now compare everything British horror wise to the Dollhouse, and it looks a hell of a lot better than that.
I think that's a fair shout.
Yeah, I think the strength in this will come out in the actual story, alongside the tropes, as we say. But I think that might be where it is. But I think, on a bigger budget, with maybe a few better actors or whatever, you might have seen a bit more out of that. But
let's see.
But again, if you think this is it's a debut film as well, so it's not
it's only a trailer as well. So
it's a trailer from a debut director
compared to a lot of the stuff that we've seen from independent filmmakers and British filmmakers over the last few weeks. Even the production quality looks a lot better than this.
Yeah, definitely.
To be fair to them,
I didn't see one wall shake. To be fair. And like no green screen trees or anything like that. What was that?
No fire appearing out of nowhere that's clearly CGI.
Oh yeah.
So
it's definitely leagues above that. And again, hopefully it'll get picked up on the circuits and do the festivals, and
we'll eventually get to see it on Amazon or something.
Mm-hmm. But again, that's The Last Rite, and it's the US and Canada, the 26th of November, 2021.
Cool. Here endeth the drop zone. So this is it. This is the big one. The one we've all been waiting for. The things that made you go, ooh.
What? Ah!
Shit!
Plain and simple.
Shit, did you see that?
Our final featurette of the Halloween season.
Oh, featurette.
Ooh, featurette. Featurette friend. We're going to take a look back at the stuff that frankly scared the shit out of us when we were kids.
Yeah.
Some of it was probably meant to, some of it not so much.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. So some of the stuff that I've chosen are what were deemed normal programs, but as a kid, scary as hell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, shall I start? I'll lead us in this conversation.
Yes, great presenter host.
Great presenter host. So, I alluded to this last week. I got the actual name of it wrong. I think I called it The Creeping Water or something like that.
Rising Damp.
No, yeah. Oh, Riggs. Yeah, to be fair, actually, that's a good point.
She was
and all that.
She was scarier.
Oh, yeah. It's got a funny name, isn't she? I forget what it is now. Frances de la Tour or something like that.
That's right.
Yeah. She's still going.
Yeah, she's in the Harry Potters.
Is she? I've not seen any of the Harry Potters, but
she plays a giant lady.
They're not in my demographic, to be fair. I'm
What
not a man
is?
child. Anyway, Yeah, so I alluded to this last week, and I called it the Creeping Water, but it's actually the Lonely Water, and it's a public information film, originally shot in the 70s, but
I know what
for
you're on about
those of
now.
us who are,
I didn't know what you meant last week. Now you said that.
yeah, so we were we're in our 40s, and these were repeated ad infinitum throughout most of the 80s. So if you're of a certain age, you'll know exactly what we're talking about. This is a public information film, basically telling kids to stay away from ponds, lakes, that kind of thing, or just be careful.
Child in the water.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's proper scary ass stuff. You've got Donald Pleasance is doing the voiceover. This is pre Halloween, to be fair. So it obviously has that connotation to it now, but it didn't back then. But well, I suppose it probably did for us in the 80s. But this was filmed before he did Halloween. But it starts off, you've got a voiceover from Donald Pleasance. The camera is low down to the floor, panning across like a stagnant pond type thing, and the camera kind of gradually rises up to reveal a monk type Grim Reaper
type
figure
thing,
in a hooded shroud, and he just kind of turns to walk away, and then the voiceover kicks in. It's, "I am the spirit of dark and lonely water," and then you get various shots of 70s kids, and you could proper 70s kids at that, white socks pulled up to their knees.
Hey,
with
let's
a
go
little
over there
stripe.
by the water.
Yeah, cool, blimey, governor, and all that sort of stuff. But they're being reckless. They're trying
they're
to
allowed
relieve.
out of their house.
It cannot look more 70s stroke 80s than it does. These kids are playing in a tip, basically. There's
it's council estate-tastic, isn't it?
Yeah, it
exactly
is. There's cars that are rusting to nothing, fridges, the whole shebang, whatever you can think of. And the voiceover carries on, "The show-offs are easy, but the unwary ones are easier still. That branch will never take his weight." And it, obviously the branch snaps, blah, blah, blah. And we get a little bit of reprieve as this carries on, because this lad is saved from the water, and it's like, proper, "Cool, blimey, what were you doing in the water? What are you doing, son? Go and get that glove. He looks cold. Go and wrap him up." And this kid runs over to pick up the cloth, and he goes, "Ooh, that's horrible," and he chucks it away. And then that cloth is the shroud of the guy, and
he's floating on the water at the
he's
end,
back
yeah.
again, and he literally says, "I'll be back." So this is 20 odd years before Arnold Schwarzenegger had the bright idea of doing all that. But yeah, this, it can't be emphasized enough. This is stuff proper aimed at kids, warning them to be careful of water.
The years of the short, sharp shock.
Yeah, and it scared the shit out of me.
I still remember it quite vividly, so I can do it.
It almost had the opposite effect. In fact, I didn't learn to swim until I was about 8 or 9 years old, because I didn't want to go near water at all.
I never have, so maybe that's it. I still use these in media and that for English as well, for like persuasive devices and advertising, and the kids nowadays can't believe that they were shown to kids. Like, I mean, I'm teaching secondary school. This was aimed at like 5-6 year olds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was
They were, and you alluded to it earlier, Paul. There's the pylon one, which is he's lost his frisbee.
Yes, right.
For me, why I've chosen the Lonely Water is because that's the creepiest of the lot, I think. From what I can remember,
that was the most satanic-y one, yeah. Cause that went supernatural, yeah. A lot of the others were just like accident-y stuff, like the kid with the bottle glass and the fireworks.
Oh, the one on the beach where he's running. He's something like that. There's places for discarded glass or something like that.
It just stops.
The beach isn't one of them, and the foot stops. Just all the camera freeze frames. Yeah,
all that stuff, and like the firework one where she picked the firework up, and she's got her hand on.
Oh yeah, I hadn't even.
There's all those. Yeah, there's all those, and
do you remember the escalator one?
Yeah, the
welly, the welly boots at the end. It just gets crushed.
Half,
yeah.
Yeah, all those things. No
wonder we don't let our kids do anything anymore. That's the TV we were brought up on.
That's what I mean. They're not allowed to show
even
any of that
to this
anymore.
day. Every time we go up the escalator in Toys R Us, the kids in the centre of the escalator,
behind the yellow line,
stay in the lines.
Yeah. God forbid we go to like London on the tube and the underground. That's just a nightmare for me.
Yeah, I don't remember any Mind the Gap ads, but I imagine they would have been quite bad in the 70s.
Probably, yeah.
But yeah, no, it's all there. And there's like the pylon one, or like the guy with the fishing line that was too big and it hit the pylon above him.
Yeah.
And all the kite, and let alone all the ones about like running in the road or whatever. And mind how
I mean,
you
to be
go
fair,
with those.
the shock tactic that they used in that era did make a comeback in the late 90s, early 2000s for drink driving.
Yeah.
But for nothing else. So this did send me on a little bit of a rabbit hole when I started researching it, and I started to look. Basically, I wanted to see it again.
Yeah.
God knows why I wanted to see it again, but I did. So I
Because
found
it's Halloween.
Yeah. So I found that, but then you know, as YouTube does, if you like this, you might want to watch this. And there's a load of ones that I don't remember from the 90s because probably was out on the piss all the time. But there was a lot of drink drive ones, and they're pretty horrific.
Yeah.
To be fair,
You're actually linking now to one that was on my list, and I'm just trying to find it now. And it was I never saw it until I was at school, and they used it because apparently it ended up getting pulled. But if you could, you just need to see it really. If you we'll watch it and then we'll reflect on it. Could you just pull up please? The Irish road safety ad is so horrifying. It's banned on TV before 9 a.m.
Okay, give me a moment to
YouTube.
load Safari. Is that the one you thought it was?
No, the other one is Man of the Well, Fleetwood Mac. But basically, it's the same thing. They're all sat there. It may even be the same footage that they've just chopped into different adverts.
song.
The other one, you see the guy like playing rugby. He has a part of his mates after, and then he drives along.
Oh no, I know
And
the
then
one.
what's
I know the
the
one you mean. Yeah,
But
that's where the kids played in the garden.
I was in the garden. And
Yeah,
then he
so
gets
you're
wiped
you're thinking
I
what
think
they're
I've-
doing
I've
is
probably
it's like a
seen, like-
nostalgia advert where it's the kids playing football in the garden and it cuts to the guy playing football with his mates, and you're
yeah.
thinking, oh, it's him. That was him when he was growing up, and now he's an adult and he's drinking with his mates and he gets
Yeah.
in the car. And then the car comes over the
the
wall,
and
to
then
the
wipes
kid that
them
you
out.
saw
Yeah.
at the start.
Similar
playing.
to like that, rolls and wipes them out. Yeah, and kills them all. But yeah, you know, it's horrific stuff. And the other one that always freaked me out, and I did look up the actor, and he did end up in an episode of Death in Paradise. But there was there was an actor at the bar. He's a barman, and someone says, "Come and have a drink, mate." He goes, "Yeah, another drink." And he does all the voices, and then it ends up,
I know the
"I'm
one you
sorry,
mean.
I didn't really
Yes,
want to have a drink."
yeah.
And he just
Yeah.
like switches
They
all the
keep
different
switching the and
characters.
it's like, have you been drinking, sir? And
You were drinking, so no, I didn't want to drink. And he's almost Gollum like before Gollum. He just switches the things. But yeah, he did end up in Death in Paradise because I was like, I wonder what happened to him because he seemed like a too talented an actor to be in a thing like that, and that was really creepy as well. But yeah, adverts did screw people up, I think.
So I take your adverts.
Oh, here we go.
Oh.
He's raising the bar.
And I'm going to stick on the it's a proper program.
Okay.
But as a kid watching it, had nightmares probably for about 5. Well, not even nightmares, but I was scared to sleep or go to sleep, or every time I was in bed and heard a plane, I would have to wait until the plane was in the distance.
We're getting a glimpse into his psyche.
And this was an episode of Tomorrow's World.
I thought you were going to go Fancy Island and you were scared of the little
No. So
Tomorrow's
Tomorrow's World, you know, a factual program and all great things coming out.
Yeah.
You know, all the new gadgets. This is the gadget show of the day, basically. Without
with perms.
yeah. The camera reviews. So, for some stupid reason, Tomorrow's World, and it was on at like 7 or 8 in the evening, they decided to do a special episode. We're gonna go through World War III. So we're gonna play out World War III in real time. So it started off, and now the Russia are launching their nuclear weapons, and we're going to watch those being launched. Okay, so Russia have launched their weapons. America are going to counter-strike now. UK only have a few, but they've been warned of this, and they're they're going to launch theirs. Ours are just in the air, and we're basically annihilated. And it's not the same in the 60s. Duck and cover. Everything's going to be okay. No, the first bombs start hitting, and it's like, and now UK is wiped out. Some parts of Ireland are okay at this point. They may die later through radiation fallout. It's like, what? What? We're all dead. Well, I've only been watching this for 15 minutes, and what are you talking? What made them do this?
It wasn't where the wind blows, was it?
No. At least when wind blows, they had a
And
little
back then,
hope.
they wouldn't have had a trigger warning like you get now.
Yeah, but when
You're there, you've just had your beans on toast.
Alphabeti spaghetti.
They were told, fill up your bath with water, get the old door at an angle, or find a
That's something else.
find a little home, under the stairs or something. Lock yourself in there for a few days. Obviously, we all know that's rubbish. But no, this was tomorrow's world.
Do you know what? I can just picture it now. He's sat in front of his the one telly in the house. No offense, but this is what it was like in the 80s.
Yeah.
The one telly in the house, sat on the floor. Bit of Tomorrow's World. He was
Probably just
geeky
done
back
my
then.
dinner.
I mean, he's geeky now. He was proper geeky back then. So it'd have been, I'm going to get to see what the future's like.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
Mr. Spocky is
And
on.
then it just, boom.
Then we'll all die. Then
There
we
is
all
no
Oh,
bloody die.
future.
And literally
Tic-tac-toe.
for years after that, every time I was in bed and it was late, like 11 o'clock or 10:30, whenever the last of the big planes were flying, is that a nuclear weapon? why is this coming? And
Is
it's
it
like,
out we lived on a flight path?
yeah. And then once the plane had gone, I'd have to wait for a few minutes. Oh, it didn't land. There's no big white flash. I'm not dead. Everything's okay. Jesus, I mean, to make us a tomorrow's world. Seriously.
See, I had a similar one. It wasn't Tomorrow's World, but Fred's. Does anyone remember Fred's?
Threads.
Fred's, yeah.
THREADS.
Yes.
It does ring a bell.
It was a sort of early 80s, what was it, 85, I want to say, 83. And it was like the nuclear holocaust in England. And they were like, the famous poster of it is there's a guy who's like the postman, he's got like bandages around his face. And
No,
it was all
I remember the Tomorrow People, but I don't remember
no,
that.
this was like a sort of after 9 o'clock, definitely not for kids. But, somehow I was allowed to watch it. I explained a lot of what mine is going to be. Will explain how I ended up when I was when I was
there's
older.
stuff in my list that
But
I should never have been watching at 8 years old.
It was written by Barry Hines and directed by Mick Jackson. And I thought it was a series, but apparently it was a film. So I don't know if at some point they put it on over 2 nights or something like that. But it was, basically jolly old England. People are all sort of all messed up and sort of grey and purpley from the nuclear
thing
stuff.
is, I mean, it almost sounds silly to say now, but we actually grew up in that. We're the tail end of it.
That was the fear, wasn't it?
We were the tail end of it, no doubt about it. But I remember the public information adverts about what do you do if you. Well, I don't think we weren't the generation that saw the adverts about what do you do with the 5-minute warning or 3-minute warning, whatever it was. But we were still. There were still things talked about in the news and on TV about what happens. Because I remember, and it's only just come to me now. I wish I'd put it on my list, but I remember watching Not the 9 O'Clock News, and they did a sketch about it, and it's proper scary stuff. This sketch is like a very similar thing. There's like, I think I'll have to find it now, but I've got it's. I can't remember the guy's name. He did. He did. They Think It's All Over. The guy that it was on, They Think It's All Over.
Nick Hancock.
No, one of the captains or a regular guest, something like that. But he was
Gower.
part of the 9 O'Clock News team. Sorry, who said that again?
David Gower, Lee Hurst, Rory.
That's it. Rory McGrath.
Yeah.
McGrath, whatever his name is. But he was kind of. He wasn't part of the team, but he was one of the guys that was always in
Like
the sketches.
a regular.
So he's in the garden playing with his kid. and then the woman, the wife, is in the kitchen doing the washing up, and it's just music playing in the background, but it's set up like they've got the 3-minute warning, and she rushes to go and grab the little girl. He starts rushing to get the kid, and they all leg it into the house, and it's almost like they're not going to make it, and it turns out they're running away from Jehovah's Witnesses. But it's done so well, it's actually quite scary, and it's only because you were talking about that it's reminded me of it, and that obviously had an impact on my head, on my tiny little brain at 7 years old, or whenever Not the 9 O'Clock News was airing. I don't know, probably something I probably shouldn't have been watching, but
early mid-80s, yeah.
But we grew up in that time, so that stuff did actually proper scare us. But I don't remember Threads. It's not a...
It was like a 1 hour. I don't think it's even... Apparently it's on Amazon now, and it is something... Looking back this, I think I need to go and watch again, because I probably didn't even understand half of it. I probably looked at it said nuclear war. I was thinking Mad Max or something, and then it was like some grim British drama
yeah.
set in a post-apocalyptic...
To be fair, we did that stuff really well back then.
Yeah.
I'm sure Reece Dinsdale was in it as well at some point. So that
was
before Home to Roost and stuff like that. But it was, I mean, there's probably other people. I'm trying to think. I can remember him. I'm just trying to think who else was it. But it's one of them. I remember images of it rather than even what happened now, because I probably didn't even understand what was going on in half of it. You know what I mean? I was just waiting for like the mutants to come out or whatever, and the Road Warriors and whatever. But it wasn't like that. But yeah, definitely one to dig out if you can find it on Amazon. And I think most people that remember it will be like, well, the fact that it probably hasn't been repeated, I think, is more the fact of how it messed up people rather than the quality of it, if that makes sense. You know, like, but that was a. But like you said, we had a lot of the nuclear. We were the aftermath of that when we could even stuff like war games and that, which wasn't scary at all, but did put that image into young children's head. You went to a kids movie and then learned that maybe we're all going to die.
So I took it from the these are like serious programs that affected me to the next level, which was this is wholesome family entertainment that still kind of freaks me out, or genuinely what the WTF, as the kids would say. And so first thing, and you guys may find this completely silly, but for me, you always had those programs about 5 o'clock, just before your dad gets home, for me, just before you had your dinner. And one of them, which always freaked me out, was Rent-A-Ghost.
Some of that was a bit weird.
Well, yeah, it was all weird, and Claypole just used to freak me out. So that's popped into my head, because I was going about, well, what else other than Tomorrow's? So it was like the life of a TV life of a kid. So before Tomorrow as well, which I thought was a safe space.
I was going to say, do you want to know where Claypole messed me up as well? Because I think
do I? I don't know.
No, because when I was a kid, I think I thought he was the dude from Queen, and that just really confused me.
No, I think it was the same.
It just really, like, I was like, but why is he dressed like a jester now? He was singing earlier.
Yeah, but that used to freak me out. And also, again, a family cartoon, which freaks me out. Watership Down.
Yeah, see, the General.
No, but even before that.
I don't like the song. To be fair, the song makes me a little bit.
But even before that, when they're tearing up the bloody warren, and you see all the rabbits running around or trying to get some air, and they're all like going into each other, and then the earth gets mixed up, and all the bodies flying everywhere. That's before you even get to the General.
I'm kind of
go back and
stunned in silence that you're accessing a memory I don't want to remember.
Go back and watch it.
No, I'm not going to go back.
Yeah.
It.
So they hit
I vowed that one November evening back in 1986. Once I'd watched it, then I was never going to watch it again.
They start you off with the warren getting ripped up. Then you think, oh, okay. Then a hawk will come down and get one of them, or a dog will like attack him. There's a dog loose in the woods, And then they meet the general after, you know, some weird rabbits all in like some warren.
In the meantime, a few of them have been ripped apart and things as well.
Yeah, there's one getting strangled. Then they meet the general. Then they all go down to that random warren and, you know, have to escape there. Then there's a big battle with dogs and all this kind of stuff. And then when you think it's all okay, out comes the black rabbit and takes off one of them. And, you know, this isn't a happy film. What are you doing? I just need to get that off my chest.
Thanks for that.
It's good that you're over that now.
Well, no, but I tried to break it down by like real serious programs, family wholesome films, and then I've got my pure horror.
Pure horror,
stuff,
yeah.
which I probably shouldn't have been watching.
Well, I guess whilst we're still back in that time period, I'm going to go a little bit further back. I'm going to go back to primary school.
Oh, I've got one for this area. Go for it.
So, who remembers Look and Read?
Yeah,
I remember Look and Read very well.
There'd be a certain demographic of us listeners.
Yeah, they had many different adventures.
And they had. So it's a really hard thing to explain to anyone under the age of probably 30.
It made reading fun.
Yeah, apparently so. But you had this little guy,
Wordy,
who would like give you like literally a floating pencil would spell out words for you. But basically, they had a story, and then they would analyse that story. It's basically it's to teach you to read, but it's also to teach you how to then analyse books and sort of what's going on.
I wish they still made it, because it would make my job a lot easier.
No doubt. But the one I'm going to talk about, there's two in there. There's two that are particularly bad, but I know there's one that you're going to talk about, Brett. So I've discounted.
No! I haven't even got Look and Read on mine.
Oh, okay, but
I know the one
I have got a kids thing, but
I'm going to start then.
Go for
with Dark Towers.
Yes, brilliant.
So, and I cannot make this any clearer. This is for primary school children. So we're talking 5 to 7 year olds. Roughly, well, back then it would have actually been 4 to 6.
Footsteps on the winding stair. Yeah, mystery is in the air in Dark Towers.
You've already got a scary ass opening theme, admittedly sung by the legend Derek Griffiths, but the theme tune is kind of.
I'd love to have him as a guest.
Cellos and really dark,
proper old school,
like
Edwardian haunted classic horror, Christmas horror sort of thing, isn't it?
And it open, it's a load of images of corridors and castles and cobwebs and candles and all that kind of old school Hammer horror type imagery. Yeah. It's not quite shot in that same way, but that's exactly what they're going for. And then you've got moving paintings. Now you see it in Harry Potter. I have seen clips of Harry Potter, and there's paintings that talk and all that sort of stuff. But this is much darker than that. And then.
Because it was acted straight, wasn't it? It wasn't acted as a kid's
Oh no,
program.
it's not comical in any way whatsoever. And then a ghost appears in the bedroom, and it doesn't just appear either. There's like bed sheets that are rummaging, and it's all kind of what's going on here. And then he appears.
Biggins is the baddie, isn't he?
Biggins is the baddie. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. And then
big bad Biggins.
So you got moving paintings. You got a ghost.
A night, if I remember.
Well, this is where I'm. This is exactly where I'm going. No, that's fine.
You've got me excited. I'm going through.
You go all through that, and the story progresses, and every now and again it cuts back to Wordy, and it's all about what's happening in the
magic.
Can you spell terrifying?
And then you get the little A coming up, and all that sort of stuff.
Billy just shat his pants. Let's spell shat.
Then the story goes on.
Nightmare doesn't have a K. No, it does.
And it comes to like the final couple of episodes. And the protagonist boy, there's a boy and a girl. That's always the way with Look and Read, if I remember right. It was always
usually white.
It was all definitely back then. But it was kind of equal opportunities insofar as how gender roles were.
I want to say Thomas portrayed. And Susan, but that might be another program.
Yeah, it's always a bland
like that. Yeah.
Peter and Tom, or Peter and Jane, or Jane and Tim, or whatever it is. But he's gone off in a bit of a sulk. Everything goes kind of dark. Not as in black, as in the weather changes. It all goes dark. He's suddenly out there alone. You get a thunderclap, and then what can only be described as a brightly lit giant medieval knight appears with a voice that's so distorted it wouldn't be out of place in Night of the Living Dead or something like that. You
They
know,
did it
Exorcist
really well.
even.
Yeah.
You know, it's that kind of, and he just starts talking to them, but he's the way he's lit and the size of him. It's just scary ass shit. And they made it for 5 to 7-year-olds, and fuck me, did it not freak me out.
But
the knight was played by Peter Mayhew, Chewbacca.
was
it really?
Yeah, sorry, just looking.
No, I didn't research it. I didn't.
No,
I
I'm just
watched
looking
a
in,
couple
I
of
just-
episodes to refresh my memory, but I didn't like bother to look who
But the
was who.
thing I love about that is that the people making it were trying to make a decent, series of programs.
Well, it's not. Yeah, it's not patronising in
No,
any
no,
way,
yeah,
shape, or
it-
form.
it's-
This was in the days when they didn't talk down to children
Exactly,
on TV.
yeah.
Yeah.
And even books at the time, kids' books were done really well. For that early 80s, we're going to make books for kids. They're going to be a bit dark. Not on Tomorrow's World level dark. But they're going to make them dark. And then there was a period from like the 90s where there was almost a backlash against all that kind of stuff, and almost things were sanitized too much. But yeah, those programs, I'm almost scared to watch them back now. But the fact that I can still remember it, you can still remember it, you can still remember it, it's ingrained into us.
Yeah, it's just
They
reminded me
actually
of
did something well.
what you thought I was going to go for now.
I think I might end this episode with the theme from Dark Towers.
Yeah.
If I can find it and get clearance, then I'm going to end this with the Dark Towers theme tune. But yeah, whilst we're on the subject of
I
looking
know,
weird,
yeah, I hadn't even thought of what I think you're
It's-
going to do next.
I
Totally was.
and I haven't researched it, but I think it's called The Boy from Space.
It is.
Yeah.
I've got the DVD. I bought the DVD.
And I mean, that is proper scary ass
That's
shit.
the only one they've ever brought out on a DVD
Is it really?
pack, and it's got there was an original because it was made in the 70s, and then they recut it again when they updated Look and Read, and they brought it out again. Yeah, it's still the same story footage, but they chopped it up a little bit.
And that was another one they did really well as well. It wasn't.
Yeah, it was the Grey Man or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
What was he called? Yeah.
Proper freaky ass shit. I've just got one image in my head of the kind of tall man and the boy.
Yep.
Making that weird noise that they made, and that's just it for me. I don't want to talk about it anymore. That's
And this is what they gave us as kids.
yeah. This isn't your Goosebumps shit. This isn't Scooby Doo. This isn't.
This was like
Eerie, Indiana.
psychological
This is-
drama shit. Yeah, because the boy from space. Yeah, if I remember, he spoke backwards because he'd found a carrier bag that was inside out, and it said like.
I don't remember. I just remember that.
But that was
that
why
voiceover,
that was why the voice was weird, because they'd found a carrier bag inside out, and it had said like do not choke or sat on it, and they read it back and thought that was how to announce, so then carried on talking backwards until they realised like right at the end.
Yeah.
So that
well,
was
it's
creepy to
just
start with.
horrible
Which
stuff.
David Lynch nicked that for Twin Peaks later on. I'm sure he'd watched The Boy from Space. Yeah, and he had that there, the Grey Man or the Tall Man or something it was called. Yeah, he was well creepy, and he was stalking them. And yeah, that's all I really remember from it. But yeah, he was well creepy. But staying with the children's things of the time, this was a show that absolutely, totally messed me up at the time. And I'm talking about, I can clearly remember waking up in the night because of this program. And like, not in a good way. It was in 1983. It ran for 6 episodes, and it was created by Roy Russell, directed by Diamond Lawrence. I'm building it up, based on the books of Dorothy Edwards, and it was called The Witches and the Grinnygog. Does it? Anyone else getting trauma triggered here?
It rings a bell.
Like it
The
starred.
last word, Grilligog, rings a bell, but
It starred Patricia Hayes, who was sort of in everything from the 70s and the 80s. And it also starred a young British actor who went on to become probably the backbone of the British acting industry, called Adam Woodgett. But it was something along the lines of, and I've never seen an episode since it was first on. But I remember there were 3 witches, and they like rent a room. Well, you don't know they're witches, but the idea is they're witches, and that's the whole thing. And the Grinagog was like some little small statue thing that had powers or something. And the kids at there are like, are they witches or not? And the bit that I always remember that totally like fucked me up and really freaked me out. And I'm thinking about it now, and I can still picture it so clearly in my head. I'm traumatized. Look at that. And in the room with the 3 witches they had a mannequin.
Yeah.
Like a mannequin doll, like a girl, long hair. But then later on, when you'd see them walking around the town, there'd be 4 of them, and it'd be walking on its own. But when it was back in the room, it was always a mannequin. But it was never explained. It was just like, so when they'd walk around, there'd be 4 of them walking around. It'd be walking around on its own. You never saw the face. But then when it was back, it'd be a mannequin sat in the room. And it was never explained. And the first time the kids see it, they're like, ah. And I just always remember that, and that just freaked me out for years.
And this was a kids' show.
Yeah. It was made by TVS, so it must have been filmed around here somewhere. And I'm only just learning that now after like looking it up on. But yeah, it was a kids show. Probably watch it now. It's probably awful, and like I just sort of like was horrible, and just such a wuss.
So is there any? Do either of you have any other kind of
Saturday
afternoon kind of scary ass shit?
No, just Saturday afternoons.
Well, you were just scared of Saturday afternoons.
So basically, Saturdays for us.
Is that when the man came?
No, Saturdays for us was
colouring in.
We'd be outside. Saturday afternoons, we'd be outside playing, running around. In the neighbourhood, in the hood. It was a good day, and then there'd be. Dinner's ready, and then it would be time to get out the VHS. So these were the days when VHSs were readily.
I don't know. I had Betamax.
Readily available to be purchased or borrowed.
Yeah.
And my dad used to know people that would lend him.
Knew people who could get you a copy.
Would lend him. The films without you needing to rent them or buy them. So every week we'd have a new VHS to watch. So we used to watch pretty much every blooming horror film that was available at the time.
My story is very similar to this.
Yeah, and me.
Now the only thing with this, because a lot of the time you'd be having your tea while it started playing. And in those days you used to get the trailers on the VHS with proper trailers. And if you were watching a horror film, you'd get the trailers for other horror films. So
you can see this hasn't left a mark on him.
No, but as a kid, some of them, I come on to some of the other ones which they wouldn't let me watch. But some of these, I'm going through the list. But we used to watch things like Extra. So if you don't know.
That's the dodgy ET in it, where it's like evil.
So Extra is about a bloke that basically gets kidnapped by aliens. The aliens come back and basically, impregnate the wife, who gives birth to the husband. I had to look this up. All I remember is in basically.
There's an Extra too as well.
Yeah. Basically being kidnapped, and then there's some random dog thing as well, I think. But that's one of the things still ingrained on me. And before that, I remember seeing a trailer to The Stuff.
Yep.
Oh, The Stuff.
It's like, look at what you could have won, kids. Oh, we could have watched that tonight. Oh, it's all right. Don't worry. We'll watch that another night. He didn't say that, but that's implied because it's a bloody trailer. So it was like horror, and like worrying about what's going to come next week. So The Stuff freaked me out just from the trailer. Then we had to endure that. And then some random film about some weird thing being in a basket.
Basket case.
Yeah, basket case.
I've got the Blu-ray set of that.
So I had to watch the trailer to that another week. And lo and behold, in a few weeks' time, we got to watch... Have you ever watched the trailer? I'm going really high pitched now.
I know.
Sorry, listeners. But if you
it's getting to him.
Even now, if you watch the trailer or a snippet of Basket Case, this isn't meant for kids.
No.
But hold on.
Would you like to borrow the Blu-ray trilogy?
No.
They made 3 of them.
I don't want to go anywhere near it. But those were the films
I'm a bad
that it was deemed by Dad that we could watch.
Well, I can add to that. All these are totally familiar. Did you ever get to see City of the Living Dead by Lucio Fulci, or Fulci, however you want to say it, the Italian horror director? At the time, as a child, I picked it out of the rack of the video store because I thought it sounded like, I thought all the dead people all lived together and it sounded nice. And so when did this come out? It came out in 1980, but I reckon it was about 83, 84 when we got out. And and went home. And all I remember at the time, I've seen it since now, and it's, you know, no child should ever sit through that film. And I would have been about 5 or 6 at the time. But there's a bit where one man offers another man's young daughter some marijuana, and the dad goes mad at him, thinks he's trying to do so, and tries to put his head through a lathe drill thing. You know, one of those on that. And then he fights him and puts his head through it, and it sprays everywhere. I watched that at 5 or 6 years old.
So we used to have like the film for the family. Then it was like, off to bed, kids. It's like, all right, yeah, you want me to go to bed after watching that? So I'd be lying in bed, and you know, then you'd hear the noise from downstairs with mum and dad watching telly still. So we used to be able to creep down, and I'm going to watch what they're watching now. On comes,
and that's where you discovered Emmanuel in space.
I wish. It was The Evil Dead. So literally starting off through The Evil Dead, I got to the point where like I managed to make it past the bit in the cellar or wherever she's kept, and then they go into the woods, trees attacking the woman.
Yeah.
And then I don't think I screamed, but I made it known.
You made it known you were there.
I was there. And so it's like, what are you doing up? It was my fault. Well, I couldn't sleep. Funny enough. You know,
I just watched the stuff.
Being traumatised, so I came down to watch, you know, some quality film with you two on the stairs where you didn't know I was. So yeah, they got subjected to The Evil Dead.
But yeah, going back to that though, I mean, I can remember like just getting random films out. I think that's where I ended up at some point. We used to go around my grandparents' house, and it would be like, you could get like hire 2 videos for like, I don't know, £1 each if they were back by 6 o'clock the same day or something. And my mum just used to let me pick, and she'd get them, and that was where I ended up working through like the Friday the 13th and The Fog and stuff like that. And I remember The Fog being a huge film that was kind of, I liked it. There's the bit, I don't want to give it away, but there's a bit right at the end that was really, really freaky.
I think you can give away the ending to The Fog now.
Well, basically, you think it's all over, and then they come, and it isn't, and then they come back and do one little bit. Also, it's keep your eye on the vicar, but that was the one bit because it was one of those where you thought the film was over, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
And that bit did make me jump. And also, I never really went out in fog for a few years after watching it. But great film, and still worth a watch these days. Ignore any remakes if they come along.
I mean, I remember my mum would say that she used to be scared of Doctor Who as a kid and like hide behind the couch.
Yeah, all those shows scared me. Doctor Who, The Muppets, Incredible Hulk.
I didn't mind most of Doctor Who. You know, I didn't mind the Daleks. I didn't mind like a lot of the scary stuff. For some reason, the Cybermen would freak me out.
It was the music for me.
And maybe that's what.
Or maybe I associated it with that. Or something. Yeah, no, definitely.
But I could do all of them. But for some reason, the pretty much the least scariest in my opinion nowadays, you know, the Cybermen, because they're a bit slow. Let's face it. The costumes aren't great.
Now
but
we've
as
learned
a kid,
about all that. Yeah.
As a kid, for some reason, they just stuck out, and I hated them.
But yeah, the Muppets as well, as a child, tormented me. But it didn't help that, I can't remember who it was, but someone, either my mum or it might have been my auntie's boyfriend at the time, had a mask of either, was it Staffler and Waldorf, you know, the critic guys on the balcony.
Yeah.
I remember having a mask, and there were pictures of me as a child being chased by various family members wearing that mask, and me like, and be like screaming. And being chased around the front room at like 5 years old or younger. And then later on, there is one of me wearing the mask, so I must have accepted it at some point. But like, so you know, there was trauma there, and it's like, which was great when we watched the Muppets Christmas Carol and they came back as ghosts. but But no, that was that was
So-
another one.
So I'm going to stay in the realm of film, and again, it's probably something that I shouldn't have been
I
watching.
thought you said rather than staying around with film.
No, I'm
Oh.
going to stay.
Oh, no. Okay.
Stay
No,
in the
it's good.
realm.
I'm going to stay in the realm of film,
Cool.
and I'm going to take it back to 1981, which is when this film came out. But I would have probably seen it 84, 85, so I would have been about 8 or 9 years old. And the film is Ghost Story. Just quick, if you haven't seen it,
Go on.
it's basically 4 old dudes. Fred Astaire.
I do know this. Yeah.
I think
Rogers?
think it's his last acting role, and Douglas Fairbanks Jr. and a
Holy
couple of
hell.
other kind of silver screen icons.
Legends and
that-
icons.
But basically, they're a group of friends who they've got like this little club that they tell ghost stories and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. But they also share a dark secret dating back 50 odd years, and it opens up with they're meeting together in the town that they live in, and it's a cold winter's night and all that usual stuff you'd expect to see from a ghost story. As the film progresses, strange deaths start to pick off those that are closest to them. None of it's particularly scary, but it all basically involves the same kind of spirit, ghost or whatever. But the final scene is this car being dragged out of a lake, and Fred Astaire opens the door, and there's a decaying corpse in there. But the corpse then goes to attack Fred Astaire, and then drops to the ground, and
Yeah.
stuff happens. But I think the reason it struck me and put the fear of God up me was because throughout the entire film, the ghost, the entity or whatnot, has been exactly that, a ghost, an entity. It's been a ethereal
thing.
But this corpse is
Like a
corporeal.
physical-
It's
yes.
a physical thing that goes to attack. And oh Jesus, just scared the shit out of me. So if you haven't seen it,
I'll have to look. Now I'm
go back.
not
and watch
aware
it.
of that one.
It's one of those films actually worthy of a remake,
Cool.
because it would obviously be a lot better now if they
But going back to Scary Skeletons, the end of Psycho will still stick in my head when the chair finally spins round and you see Mum.
It's all
Mother.
revealed.
That was yeah. No one was expecting that. Everyone will say now it was obvious, but
Yeah,
no one,
but
at
no.
the time no
Back
one was
then,
expecting that.
absolutely not.
But I'm going to go back a few years before your one. And this is one I talked about the other week at the end of last week's episode. Australian film that I saw. It came out in 1978, but I saw it years later. It was one of those ones that was on sort of like probably after The Word or something in the 90s or something, at 2 o'clock in the morning on Channel 4 or BBC 2. Do you know, actually, I think it was when, do you remember BBC 2 used to actually have decent films on, and like someone would, like Mark Commode would introduce it or something like that, or somebody else, like that long haired dude with glasses and like
And the
handlebar and
Tash.
stuff.
Yeah.
It was like one of them introduced it. It was called Patrick. Basically, Patrick's in a coma. He can't do nothing, but there's stuff going on. There's people he doesn't like, whatever. And Susan's, while she's tending to him, she's got a typewriter. And then one day, as she's typing, it's going on its own. What's happening? And it types Patrick, which is his name. And she's like that. And then she's like, oh, he's telekinetic. And she tells everyone, of course, it's that whole thing of when she brings everyone else in, he don't do nothing.
Yeah.
But then when she's there, she does the bit like where he'll spit to communicate, which is what Tarantino nicked that in Kill Bill when she's in the coma. That's where he got that bit from, and she like spits out and reacts, but she can't do anything because she can't. That's where that comes from. It comes from Patrick, and then she's saying, "Hey, look, he does this, he does that," and people are like, "No, he doesn't. There's nothing here." And then when she goes back to her typewriter, it's typed out secret. And he doesn't want anyone to know. And then basically, the whole thing is based on, like if you go blind, you get stronger hearing or whatever else. You have a sense of it. And the idea is he's got no senses left now, so he's like super telekinetic. And gradually, like different people have done him wrong and whatever, he's killing them off or believed to be being killed off because you're just seeing him like, oh no, I can't change the steering wheel, and all that. But the whole time, he does nothing. And he's just laying there in the bed. There's no, and I think that's what freaked me out when I watched it, because there's no, You know, there's no one-liners, there's no hockey mask or razor glove or whatever. You just got this still face. Just, I don't know why I'm acting out because you're all listening, but you've just got this, just like a, you know, and that's it. Or he might just spit a bit, but that was enough to make you jump.
Yeah.
Because there's no movement.
I've not seen that.
I mean, looking back now, it probably looks like a bag of shit now because it's probably 1978. I'm not saying it had the biggest budget or whatever, but it was just weird enough to be it was more disturbing than it was sensationalizing. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like, you know, you see a lot of these films, like, oh, it's really freaky, but they got like £1 million budget and $1 million budget, and it's all that. This was just more, just kind of like, this is fucked up, man. And yeah, and I still remember it now, and I won't go into the rest of it because I don't want to ruin it. But basically, yeah, the whole thing is, it's just him. Like, it was a good ending as well, but again, I won't ruin that. But yeah, it's all less is more. It's one of those ones.
So another one from me, and this might just be me again. I don't know how much your parents made you watch. I say made. It's not like they forced me to watch it. But if you're like me, then when you hear the theme tune, it will bring back a lot of memories. And this is by one of the UK's finest children's authors, Roald Dahl, and it's Tales of the Unexpected.
Yeah. I could have listed at least 5 or 6 particular episodes.
Yeah.
There's one I'll bring it up when you.
I've got one as well.
Yeah. So we've all been affected by Tales of the Unexpected.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Some of them were. I mean, some of them were like literally just like crime things or.
Yeah, some of them were actually quite nice, gentle little tales. I sorry to talk over, but I remember one, but it was Richard Bryars. Bryer? Yeah,
right.
The English guy, Richard Bryer.
The Griffin.
And he's a vicar who not a vicar. Sorry, he's a, what do you call them? Not layman. What they called? Curate or something. The one that helps out with the church.
The
or
trainee,
something.
Curate.
Yeah, so he helps out with the church, and then he gets kind of made redundant, but he can't read. But his wife is a really good cook or something, so they set up a tea rooms, and then this American company comes in to buy the tea rooms, and they stall a bit on the negotiations, and it's all kind of a little bit fraught. And I don't remember much, but I remember the ending is he can't read the contract because he can't read, and he's not going to sign it, and he eventually confesses in this ballroom that he can't read, and it's like, well, the American guy says to him something along the lines of, well, just imagine what you could be if you could read. And he went, I own this company and I can't. It's something along those, but it's a kind of like, it kind of turns the whole thing on its head. It's like, well, I wouldn't be where I am now owning this company of tea rooms and blah blah blah. Sorry, that would
no, that's fine. But that's the thing. That's the whole thing about Tales of the Unexpected, is because some of them lull you in with a false sense of security, and then the next week you get one about. I remember it to this day. There's one about bees or
that's the one. That's the one I've got written down. Fuck me, that scary ass shit.
Yeah. I mean, so this. From my memory, there's like a couple with a baby. And
that's right. Yeah. Timothy West is the main guy in it.
So he starts giving her royal jelly.
Yeah.
And then he starts having royal jelly, and then it gets all a bit
weird.
A bit weird, yeah. And it wasn't meant for kids.
No.
But we were watching it at the same time.
I think he ends up turning into a bee or something.
Turning into a bee, yeah. That's a messed up one.
Yeah.
But there's lots of them. Lots of just freaky.
To be fair, it was just the theme tune is enough to kind of send me into a little bit of a, oh, I'm not liking this.
Yeah.
There was so many weird and screwed up.
Yeah.
And a lot of them had weird, ambiguous endings that, for anyone aged between the sort of 5 or 10 years old, would just scare the shit. Yeah. As I say, I mean, the theme tune alone is enough.
Exactly.
It ran for about 6 or 7 seasons. I think they dropped the Roald Dahl after a certain amount of time because they obviously stopped being based
Yeah.
on
I think
real
no,
stories.
they went American as well. 'Cause I
Yeah,
think
there's a few American
America
ones which
bought
were just
into it
kind
then, and then that was the demise of it.
yeah,
I
some
think.
of them were a bit like kind of like strangers on a train type stories and stuff like that. But the first couple of seasons were proper weird. Not necessarily scary, just weird. But they were probably weird enough to scare the shit out of, like I say, anyone aged between the age of 8 to
That
10.
probably shouldn't have been watching them, but their parents were. So
Yeah, 'cause this
Yeah.
was like
They're in the
that was
room.
like 10 o'clock on a Sunday or something, wasn't it? It was just
yeah,
like-
maybe earlier than that. Maybe 9.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take. No, I'm not actually. I am gonna go. I'm gonna stick to that same time period.
Okay.
So and I don't really know when I first saw this, but bearing in mind it was made in 1969, so it was probably some point in the early 80s that I saw this. Back in the glory days of the BBC, they would do a ghost story for Christmas.
I have one of these on my list.
Yeah, and
But,
every now and again they've revived it, and they've done it. And BBC Four do it every couple of years. There's a new one. Back in the 60s and early 70s, they did a load of them, and they were obviously repeated again around early 80s to mid 80s. More often than not, they would have been an M.R. James ghost story that was adapted for TV. So, like I said, I don't really know when I first saw it. By modern day standards, they're probably not that good. But either way, there's two that stand out to me. The one I'm going to talk about is Whistle and I'll Come to You, which is based on the M.R. James story, Oh Whistle Lad and I'll Come to You. I did write down, I thought I'd written down who it stars, but I can't see it anywhere on there. But anyway, in short, an aging professor takes a holiday to, I think, Norfolk or somewhere like that. It's off season. His wife has been left at home because she's got dementia or something, and he stumbles across a whistle carved out of bone in a graveyard, and he blows on the whistle and something starts following him, some entity or whatnot. And like I say, I mean, this isn't Hollywood style horror, it's creeping dread. You know, he's bumbling along, and this I should have written down who played him, but it's not Michael Gambon, but someone of that same kind of stature, if you see what I mean. Someone who was probably famous back then and is a proper Shakespearean actor. It's a really good job of just being this bumbling professor. But there's a particular scene where he just kind of looks back across the beach, and there's this thing in the distance, and it in my mind I can see it, and it probably is just a fucking sheet attached to a couple of bits of barbed wire or piano wire or something. But just the way it's shot, it's black and white obviously because it's 1969, so everything about it just looks creepy and weird and freaky. And again, 8-9 years old would, lead up to Christmas, we were allowed to watch this sort of stuff, and it just has embedded in my head. They remade Whistle and I Come to You about 10-15 years ago. It was nowhere near as good. It's this stuff that turned me on to ghosts and whatnot. I mean, I've read every M.R. James story. I've seen every adaptation I can get my hands on, and I trace it all the way back to seeing Whistle and I Come to You from I didn't see it in 1969 obviously, but that version. They've done loads of ghost stories for Christmas or whatever they call it in BBC drama over the years. There's another one called The Stone Tapes. If you haven't seen that, that's a proper freaky one as well. I think that was in the 70s, so it's got all that psychedelic music and the
lights,
green light. They do all that kind of where they cut the video across and all that sort of stuff.
It was Michael Horndean.
That's the fella. Watch it and you'll know what I mean about the guy. Oh, sorry, the figure that's creeping up on him. There's something about it that looks good, and it's that less or more you talked about earlier, Brett.
Yeah.
It's not special effects in any way, shape, or form. It probably is just a black sheet blowing in the wind, and they managed to capture it. It's its best moment.
Added to it.
Yeah.
My one of that I had was The Signalman, which was
with Denham Elliott in.
Denham Elliott, which is the old.
That's a Dickens,
Look out
isn't it?
below, but again, it's just the action bit of where he has to put his hand out in the way thing, and then that's
everything
what ends
about
up.
that is just.
It's just weird.
The little copper kettle and just everything where they're just sat and it's literally just like two strangers sat in a hut or a signal box, I should say, just talking, and then
It's a shame. Oh no, actually no. Did they do one last year?
Mark Gatiss or Gattis, depending on how you want to pronounce it, did the Crooked House, 2012, something like that. They did one that I can't pronounce, the Tricate Myth Cloth or something like that.
Yeah.
Again, 2013, 2014. But it looks like Mark Gatiss is doing one this year. I don't know much detail about it, but
cool.
so because I saw it in the list of, if you do a Google search for BBC Ghost Stories of Christmas,
yeah.
you get a long list of them, and there's one that says 2021 or Christmas 2021, written by Mark Gatiss. But I don't want to go and look at the synopsis because I want to know nothing about it.
Yeah, it's just
I'd rather watch it. But the Crooked House was actually good. I think it was a 3-parter. That wasn't too bad. That was quite a good one. And there's one again. The BBC did do one back in probably 2014. Another M.R. James, the Number 13, which is a really good story if you've read the M.R. James story, but the adaptation was shit.
I mean, I think still one of the most freaked out I've ever been, going back to the big screen with Don't Look Now.
I've forgotten all about that.
That's
the reason I probably forgot all
yeah,
about that.
that for years. You know what? I own it on. I think I own it on. It's either like a DVD special anniversary super edition or like a special Blu-ray, and I've still never put it in to watch it because it freaked the shit out of me.
I can remember full well not wanting to draw the curtains in my bedroom when I was a kid, in fear of the little dwarf lady being behind the curtain when I put them apart.
Because it's not even, from my memory, it's not even really explained, because you just keep seeing the
it's
girl.
just a film of, basically it's just a couple trying to get over their grief, and they go on holiday in Venice, and it's none of it's really explained. It's that proper 70s, I think it is, weird horror that kind of just got by on ambiguity and not needing to explain anything.
So that red
Woman
coat.
in red coat. Or whatever.
Even now, if I'm at Fort Park or something, there's a kid in front of me in a red coat, I better turn around quick, I'm getting smashed in the back of the head with a brick. Sorry, I ain't taking chances. I mean, one of my ones for the modern, which I've just got on because it was just
modern. Are we doing modern?
The more modern. It's probably not that modern anymore, but just for the fact that it was just freaky and weirded me out and made me disturbed in a way I'd never thought before, was the Human Centipede. Because, like, you know, everyone knows what it is. We don't need to go into it, but that was one of the more recent ones of modern memory that was just like, you know, like when you're like, nothing can freak me out or do it anymore, and that was like, okay, yes, it can. And the last one I had on my list was, has anyone seen The Loved Ones?
No, it doesn't ring any bells.
Australian horror film. It's prom night, and she really wants a date, and it, without giving anything away, it gets really, 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 really dark, and there is some proper, almost hostile like shit going on. You know, like, I wouldn't even call it a horror. It's just disturbing, almost not quite snuff movie like, but just like, you know, like Hostel, where it's just real graphic, torturous violence. And the film didn't start like that. I was watching it with my mum. She went, "This is a bit far," but yeah, that was probably the last one for me. And they're two examples of just sort of more, what I would call more recent films that have, you know, occasionally you still can get shook. You know, like you think, I've seen it all.
You think you've seen it all, but every now and again
something comes
up.
out. Yeah, that was The Loved Ones, and obviously The Human Centipede.
To be fair, I think I'm still waiting for something in recent memory to freak me out. I mean, you mentioned The Human Centipede. I think I probably heard too much about it before I'd seen it.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. That it didn't really freak me out. The only other thing I've got left on my list takes us back to the probably mid-90s, and that's the X-Files.
I didn't even think of the X-Files.
Well, it wouldn't even been my go-to thing, but it is something that has actually literally ingrained on my memory. And it's one particular episode. I had to go and research what the episode was called. It took me fucking ages to find it. And it's the episode called Home. So Mulder and Scully go off to investigate the death of a newborn baby, and the episode I think from memory you see what happens to the baby, and then cut to some kids playing baseball, and the kid he's getting ready to pitch. I think the word is. I don't play baseball.
That's when you throw the ball.
Okay, the other way around. So he's batting, and he's getting his feet all set, and so the camera then pans down to his foot, and he's got his foot like wedged into the ground, and the ground basically starts to bleed. So they've obviously discovered the newborn baby that's been buried
there.
So that takes Mulder and Scully to this ramshackle Pennsylvania.
I know the
farmhouse.
one you mean now.
And
oh yeah, I knew I recognised the title.
There's loads of weird, creepy stuff in it, and there's a lot of
Skateboard.
stuff that always freaks me out, which is just like old photographs of they're shot in a particular way, but it's just like old photographs, black and white, and just people where they stare at the camera because they had this weird thing that it was going to
The old American
take their
Gothic
soul.
thing.
Yeah, exactly, definitely American Gothic. So, like I say, they're in this Pennsylvania farmhouse, and so far you've only ever seen three men. You don't really see them very well. They're just normally all like silhouettes or whatever. And Mulder and Scully are beginning to think there's actually someone has been kidnapped and is being held captive there, because how could these three lads have a baby? So they're now, it's now gone not just from a murder of a baby investigation, but also to a kidnapping. But and eventually they get their probable cause to go into the house. And there's all, it's a dark house, blah blah blah, and under the bed this woman gets wheeled out on a skateboard, and she's basically their mother and that kid's mother, so you know how this baby came to be. But it's the way she comes out from under that bed, and it's
I can see
really
it now.
loud, kind of. She's got a horrible voice. It's all screaming, and she's obviously all deformed. And it turns out there was a car accident. They thought that the townspeople had thought she died in this car accident, but she hadn't. She was still alive. It's just a horrible episode from start to finish. But that bit in the middle there, where she comes out from the under the bed on like you say, Brett, on a skateboard. Oh, it's just horrible. And I don't know how true this is. I got off Wikipedia or something. Fox received so many complaints about that episode, they never repeated it. I'm sure, like over here, just probably got repeated as often as every other episode, and I'm sure it's on the Stars network or wherever it is now that you can
years
watch it
ago
on.
they were repeating them during the day until they
That's
got in
what I mean.
trouble, weren't they?
Yeah. So I'm sure over here it's different kettle of fish altogether. But anyway, that's always stuck with me. And I say, just ugh. The whole thing is ugh.
Totally.
And they don't get they get away with it. They drive off in the end. They drive
All
off
live
into the
happily
sunset.
ever
I think
after.
all four of them do. I'm sure. I don't remember the mum being killed. I think they all escape.
Yeah, no, that was no, I'd totally forgotten about that. When you said home, I thought, what does that ring a bell? And then
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of really good episodes and quite dark ones. I was never a fan of the alien stuff. It was always the weird episodes or the horror one. But yeah, this one is always stuck in my head, and it's probably about 95, 96. So not that young, to be fair. We're in our teens by then. Can't be bothered to work it out how old I was in 1996, 95, 18.
19.
October the 11th, 1996.
96. There we go. So
that was when football was coming home.
yeah,
The first time.
so we would have been 18, 19, but it's still, well, let's be honest, it scared the shit out of me. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
We got any honourable mentions that we don't want to dwell on too much, but are worth making people watch? So I've got a few.
Oh, go on.
I've got the tapping at the window in Salem's Lot, the 70s one with David Selwyn. Can't be underestimated how good that is.
See, that's what I still think Lost Boys got it from.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
But yeah, the tapping at the window in Salem's Lot. I think we have talked about this, even if we didn't talk about it tonight. We talked about it in the past, which is the voice from under the cellar in Living Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Got that right.
Evil Dead, sorry.
Evil Dead. Yeah. Woman in the bathtub in The Shining.
Yeah, that's cool. And
That was it, because the only other honourable mention I had was Tales of the Unexpected, which we've already talked about.
cover it. I had two more. I had The Uninvited, which was 2009 weird film about a girl called Anna who returns home after a stint in a mental hospital, and it looks like she's got an evil stepmother now. And
Yeah, I think I've seen that.
that was really good, because it was one of those films for the once. I think I watched it not knowing even what it was, and thought I was watching something, and then it just totally took me by surprise. Because I didn't realise it was that. I'd gone in not realising it was that kind of film, so I wasn't expecting that sort of thing to happen. And it was like, I think that's why it got me. So it gets bonus points because I didn't see it coming. And the other one, Twin Peaks, Bob was scary as fuck. Sorry. And so was the little backward talking man.
I think everything about Twin Peaks.
The Man from Another Place, to use his correct title.
The only thing for me, and again, if you watch it today, it's not scary in the slightest, but as a kid, it was. And this stars Steve McQueen, and this was The Blob.
Walk, don't run from the Blob.
So, on that note,
you've had a nice journey into our child's psyche and how we ended up as messed up as we are.
So that was the Cult Faction Podcast, episode 32. Things that make you go, ooh. If we missed anything, feel free to let us know on Twitter or TikTok or even Facebook. And the other one that I can never remember whether we're on now, Twitch. Is it Twitch?
Twitch, yeah.
Let us know on Twitch. Or if you want to be really old school, you can email us at cultfactionpodcast@mail.com.
Yeah, let us know.
Let us know.
Cult Faction Online Psychological Services.
Just search cultfaction.com. You'll find us. Anything you want to need to
We shall appear.
We'll be there.
Say us 5 times in a mirror.
And obviously, don't forget to rate and review us on your preferred podcast app. In the meantime, it is goodbye from me.
And a farewell from me.
Goodbye from me. Don't have nightmares.
Or do. Wahahaha.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
They're coming for you, Barbara. They're here.
Do that.
No.
Okay.
Oh,
there we go.
Oh, I've got to do something. Fucking Smurfs. Don't you fucking ask, Paul. It's this kind of shit that fucks me over in the edit.
I really want to eat a spider.
I hate the Smurf.
They blinded me with science! Oh, sorry, I wasn't listening to you.
That's alright, you're talking about press, it's okay.
Ooh!
I sense the presence of wine.
They run, they run.